Hello, welcome back to today's episode of Real People. This is episode 5. I'm your host, Sam Elkins, and I'm joined today by the one and only
John Schilling.
Today is a special episode. It's the Halloween special. So we will be comparing the 1978 original Halloween with the David Gordon Green 2018 Halloween that came out last year. The very first Halloween in 1978 is indubitably a classic. It's universally known as the horror classic that started the slasher craze from the 1980s. What do you think really kind of makes Halloween a horror classic?
I mean, you look at the character setup, you have Michael Myers, the iconic slasher. At least once a Halloween you see somebody dressed up as Michael Myers.
And Laurie Strode is the ultimate final girl, if we're being honest. That trope is a little overdone, but it's overdone probably because of Halloween. And I really enjoy the first film. I think the reason that it is such a horror classic is because it feels like a scary campfire story.
Yeah.
It's like an urban legend because it's Michael Myers. All you know is that he was this kid that murdered his sister, was locked away for years, then escapes on Halloween when he's 21.
Yeah.
And then that's all you know about him. Other than that, you see his face maybe once for a half a second in the original. Other than that, you don't see his face.
If you actually go in and then also going off that, look at the score, most of the pieces of music that are based around Michael Myers are called The Shape blanks. The Shape does this, The Shape is this. So he's not called Michael Myers except for in the film, but like even in the credits of the movie, as at the end of the movie they roll through, it's not Michael Myers, it's The Shape.
Yeah.
And then going off of that kind of campfire like vibe, if you look at it, throughout the entire film, they keep calling for the boogeyman and
he's treated as evil incarnate. That's his whole thing, is he's just pure evil.
Yeah.
You don't know what drives him. You don't know why he does what he does. Some films try to explain that, and those are undercutting what the original magic was. Okay, so 2018 Halloween. What are your thoughts?
I definitely like that they understood that the character is older. Both Michael and Laurie are both older now. They've had time to mature, and so it's definitely more of that, it's the final grudge match between Michael and Laurie.
And I think that the 2018 Halloween has a sort of reverence for the original that other sequels or remakes didn't have. The other sequels and remakes, I don't think what they understood about Michael is that his mystery is what makes him terrifying.
Yeah.
And so in this one, they even kind of poke fun at them trying to explain Michael's past. I heard that Michael is that your grandmother is Michael's sister, and they're like, no, that's just some dumb thing that people came up with to make themselves feel better or something like that.
Well, and also you look at it, they realize also that this is a modern audience. We're no longer watching a black and white version of The Thing on an old box TV. Now it's bloggers that are like, I'm going to explore this urban myth kind of like a Shane Dawson or stuff like that, where it's like, hey, this is big news, people know about him, people know what's going to happen, so let's just see what, kind of modernize it, but not modern retell him, make him true to who he is. They bring back his original iconic mask and are like, hey, what does this make you feel? And they make it more, hey, this happened, what's going to happen next?
Yeah, and they kind of do the same thing that the first one does, which is kind of straddle the line of if Michael Myers is supernatural. Well, not if. He is supernatural, but it's not explicit.
Yeah.
They give him that mystery because, he's still alive in the 2018 version, which means he was shot 6 times and in the original at the end, and then he survived that. And then they have him showing the mask, and then everybody around Michael is chattering, they're getting excited, but Michael doesn't move. So it's like, okay, maybe it's just the mask, people know what that is, that's why they got and then Michael's just this tall guy. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, does the mask have this kind of power?
Yeah. Now it's actually set up to be a trilogy. Because at the end of the last one, the cabin goes up in flames. But if you go to the credits, if you don't, just be like, oh, the end, click, done.
Yeah.
You can hear his heartbeat and his breathing in the credits. You're like, okay, he's alive. And, they pan over the house and he's not there.
Yeah, exactly. They show the basement, and he's no longer standing where he was, and you don't see a body. And in any sort of like big film, I think if you don't see a big character die, if you don't see the light leave their eyes, their body, like if you don't see something specifically showing them dead, then you don't know that if they're actually dead.
Well, and I think you can look at, a lot of horror films did that before Halloween, but like Halloween made that a huge thing because, he gets shot 6 times, goes over the railing, everyone's like, we got him, Loomis goes over the edge, and he's gone. And then it's like, well, what happened? And then, it sets up perfectly with Halloween 2, and then it's a continued trope throughout not only like Halloween, but like Friday the 13th, and like all those horror movies, the iconic ones where like, oh, they defeated the like slasher. Well, but did you? Is the body there? Can we count the body?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that I really enjoyed about the 2018 Halloween is that they really kind of flipped the roles of Michael and Laurie in a lot of ways. And you see a lot of lots of parallels with the original, but especially if you remember when Michael, throws Laurie off the balcony and she falls on the ground, and he goes and looks over, and then she's gone.
Yeah.
That's very, like, almost identical to the very first one, especially because if you kind of notice, that house is modeled after the house from the end of the first Halloween. And another thing that I really liked is how, like you said, when she knows that Michael has escaped, she goes into like survival mode.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about the film as well is that throughout the beginning of the film, you're thinking, oh, she's doing all this because she's scared, because she doesn't want that to happen again, whereas she's doing it because she's angry, and she wants to kill Michael. She wants him to escape, and she wants him to come back. And so when you see her, when he's being moved, and she goes in the car and is waiting, and she sees him go into the bus, and she's like crying and drinking alcohol. It's very understandable to think, oh, she's looking to make sure that he's not going to escape, and she's crying because she's terrified. No, she's going there because she's debating if she wants to go up and kill him right now. And she's crying because she's angry.
And that's understandable, and like that definitely plays into you look at the actors and actresses that are in that film, like they got the original Michael to come back, and like Laurie's played by the original character, and like it's they allow themselves to mature, and there's not that, oh, well, we're going to bring in this new person to play Laurie, and that way, like, they don't have that emotional attachment to the role, whereas, like, it's iconic, it launched both of their careers, like, it's the number one thing that they want to focus on.
And Jamie Lee Curtis has that connection to the character, so going back, she can kind of draw from her own emotion from when she acted in the original film. And then Michael, as a character, maintains, from the first one, his brooding, sort of shadow lurking in the shadows character. So you can really see how, when he walks slowly, it's not so much that he can't run, it's that he doesn't need to. And so in a lot of like sequels, like namely, I keep bringing up the original Halloween 2 because I recently watched it, and there's one scene in that where Laurie is frantically trying to get into an elevator to escape Michael, and then she gets in the elevator, and it's like the classic, like, oh, close, and he's just walking slowly toward her, then he like gets his hand in there and it closes on his hand, which a normal elevator that would like, you know, cause it to open up again, but in his hand just like retracts. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, even for Michael, it's like you think they just run, whereas Michael he doesn't run because he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
There's no situation where he would need to.
Yeah.
Because he's just this evil force that cannot be stopped, even though he's going at this slow pace.
Well, and I think that makes him iconic, because like Jason, you know, there's scenes where he's running after people in the woods, and Freddy Krueger's, you know, chasing people in the boiler, where
like
in the
prancing.
boiler, yeah. And there's like, you know, they have their own ways of moving, but they're all able to move fast. But then like Michael is this slow, thought out, methodical, like this is where we're going. I know that they can run, but I know that I'll make it down to the bottom of the stairs before them. I don't know how, but I will.
Yeah.
And I think that makes his character even better in like the original and the 2018 is like
the original really sets up so many horror tropes. Not only like the final girl like we talked about earlier, but in terms of like camera work, because there's a lot done with Michael in the background scenes, and a lot done with the camera work with that is really innovative.
Yeah.
And in this new one, I think there were a few scenes that did really well. There, like the whole movie did really well, like recapturing that, you know, that sort of suspense and dread. You know he's coming, but it also did some really innovative things that we haven't seen. There's one shot that it's probably my favorite shot in the whole film. Is when Michael goes, it's toward the beginning, or toward the middle, when Michael goes to the window of this house, and you see what's going on in the house. It's almost like it's from his perspective, but you also see the iconic mask in the reflection in the window, but then you see this woman just like doing things in the house, around the house, and then it stays at that single shot. You see his face move, and you know he's like walked away, but then there's a window inside the house and you see him walk along the side of the house, and then she walks forward, she's facing us, and then they do the iconic thing where we know where he is, but she doesn't, and you see him come in from the back door, then go up behind her, and then he does his Michael thing, he murders her. But I thought that was a really nice scene, because they keep that shot the entire time. You see Michael here, you see him over here, and then you see him come in from behind. And I thought that was really cool. And then another thing I think that the 2018 Halloween film did well is it actually did more than just tell a horror story. It told a story about how people deal with trauma as well, because it knows that Laurie Strode, going through what she went through, she would not just grow up the same. And then she has that line in the film that says where she says, you know, if my daughter hates me, but she's more prepared for the horrors of this world, then I've done my job, or something like that. And I think that really kind of shows how she's been just hardened to the world, because at such a young age she experienced this evil presence. However, while I think that the new 2018 Halloween is very good as a horror sequel, I don't think it quite lives up to the original, and the only reason I say that is because it's really hard to live up to that sort of innovation. Because like looking back on the original Halloween, it's very easy for us to say these things like it's not as intense as movies now, but that's because it set up every other horror film after it, especially slasher films. So it started these new tropes, because these things that were being done in these horror films weren't being done before Halloween came out. And the reason I say this new one doesn't live up to that is because it doesn't do anything that's totally new.
But it's definitely just, here's a classic Michael Myers story, but with, you know, new paint.
Yeah. It's not an instant classic horror film. Yeah. All right, everybody, that's all the time we have today for the Halloween special, Real People Episode 5. I've been your host, Sam Elkins. And
I'm John Schilling.
All right, and that's all the time we have today, so thanks for watching. Peace.